Welcome to Moose Plays, everyone. I'm the Liquor Moose, and today we're going to go over our third playoff game against the Ailsa Cutieflies, which is Sean's team. So Sean was actually the last person I've lost to. Um, that was back in week 3, and since then I have not lost. So I'm on an 11-game winning streak, and to put things simply, winner of this goes on to the finals, like the playoff finals. Um, the loser of this one has to go to, I guess it's the semifinal game. They have to play one more game before they get a chance to make it to the finals. And the advantage is, since this is still a double elimination bracket, the winner of this game, when they go to the finals, they only have to win one to win the finals. But since going into it, they have 0 losses, they have to get beat twice. In the final game. So I really want to win this match. Sean makes he has a weird team that isn't necessarily as far as typings go, not the greatest balance of stuff. So I needed to make my threats able to survive his extremely big threats, which is mainly his Greninja and Buzzwole and Mega Sharpedo. Those are the big ones I wanted to get through. So I started with Tapu Koko. Gave him a choice scarf this time. Originally I had this as a modest nature instead of timid. But then realized that Sean knows that I pretty much like to bring something scarfed every game. So if he brings a timid scarfed Greninja, that will outspeed a modest scarf Tapu Koko. So I needed to switch this to timid to at least outspeed that, regardless of my nature. A timid scarfed Ash Greninja will be able to outspeed. So I mean, if he does that, then I guess he gets me. I mean, there's not much I can't outspeed it at all. So I brought this Thunderbolt. Stab damage can hit. He has a myriad of water types. Greninja, Starmie, and Mega Sharpedo. They all hit those. It hits also Xatu super effectively. So that's the deal damage to that. And Volt Switch is to keep momentum. Since I thought Raikou got Volt Absorb, but it turns out he does not. So Volt Switch is free against this. So the only Volt Switch resistance he has is Seismitoad, which if he brings it, fine, but if not, it's only 1. I can play around that pretty easily. Because he has that Seismitoad, I'm bringing Grass Knot. Should get the 1-hit KO on that, and can still hit his other water types super effectively if it comes down to it. I'm bringing Hidden Power Flying this time. Because while Dazzling Gleam actually gets decent coverage against his team, this is mostly for Buzzwole, and the power difference between Hidden Power Flying and Dazzling Gleam is very minimal. I think the Hidden Power only does 1% more than the Dazzling Gleam does. However, I'm going with this specifically so Tapu Koko has an actual way of dealing damage to Vileplume, because if I had Dazzling Gleam, this thing would wall it. Noteworthy that Hidden Power Flying can also hit Throw, but I'm not too worried about that. So yeah, that's Koko. So the next set I wanted to address was his Mimikyu, specifically a Swords Dance set. Fortress is by far the best way to do that. This also acts as a very decent counter to his Doublade if he brings a Swords Dance variant of that. So physically defensive set. Last time against him I brought a special set. Maybe that was more important, since instead of Buzzwole he had Mega Alakazam, but I honestly don't see a reason to specially defense this at all. His special defense stat is not good enough. So I'm bringing something. I say something different, but it's not really. It's more of a lack of something. Fortress is not bringing Rapid Spin this time, mostly because Sean just almost never uses Stealth Rock or Spikes. He only has he only brings normally one Spikes user, which is sometimes he brings it on Greninja. And I think every time he's brought Seismitoad, he does bring rocks. But even then, he almost never gets the rocks up. So I'm running a little bit of a risk here, but I've got a backup plan for it, so don't worry. But other than that, the normal stuff that's on Fortress, spikes, entry hazards are important. Volt switch for a slow switch, which is also extremely important. I'm running Toxic in the case where I can't. I'm forced to not be able to attack his Mimikyu, or I think better yet, just to poison his Cresselia if it comes down to it. That'll just make the game faster. And Gyro Ball as a main source of damage output, because this thing is slow, it can still deal heavy damage to. It can still do heavy damage to Mimikyu, which was the main point. Minus when he has the pseudo substitute up. I guess it's the. I don't even remember what it's called. But yeah, I wanted something to actually deal damage, so Gyro Ball is by far Fortress's best option for that. Next up, bit of a brew, if I do say so myself. So Weavile is coming in. Life Orb for powerful attacks. I'm not scarfing it this time. I already have a fast scarfer. It's kind of unnecessary. So this time, so I've got the normal knockoff Icicle Crash. That's pretty standard on a Weavile set. This time I'm bringing Beat Up. Because if I'm ever in a situation where this needs to be able to try to kill his Mimikyu, I need to be able to hit past that substitute. Or I guess that disguise, that's the word I'm looking for. He needs to hit past the disguise. So hopefully, with all of my healthy Pokemon, the first move of Beat Up will break the disguise, and then it'll hit Mimikyu 5 more times. Found out, Beat Up used to just be all of your Pokemon that have not fainted help out with the attack. Now it's healthy Pokemon only help with the attack. So if any of my Pokemon are statused, then they do not help. A little unfortunate, but as long as I know and don't make mistakes. Funny enough, though, for whatever reason, in the Pokemon calculator, Beat Up just doesn't show up as a move. So I have no idea. I've practiced against Matt, and I saw how much, I think at full HP, 0 defense investment, each hit does like, I think 11 to 13%, something like that. It was a while since we've practiced. But yeah, so hopefully on a 0 HP, 0 def, on 5 hits, that might be around 18. It'll be close. It'll be close. It should be able to get it if I get max hits with hazards. But yeah, it's just a bit of tech for that. And past that, it still hits Xatu and Cresselia super effectively if need be. And Doublade, actually. And Starmie. He has a lot of dark weaknesses, which is good. Which also, most of them, incidentally, make way for X-Scissor to be good in this match. It's just generally good coverage against his team. Matt definitely got caught off guard by it. As far as I know, I haven't brought X-Scissor. So, maybe I did last time against him. I honestly don't remember. But I think this is just a good neutral coverage move of just like, I don't know what to click as far as typing goes. This was an okay coverage move that could hit 1, 2, 3, 4. It's only those 4, and then it hits Xatu neutrally, only because of the flying type. But yeah, I just thought X-Scissor gets decent coverage against Sean, so that's why I brought it. Now we're bringing like a support-ish kind of Mesprit. Again, this one's really a brew. I think more so than this one. So the main issue with this is this is definitely by far my knockoff switch in. Specifically, like Seismitoad will do it. I think that Seismitoad and Throw are his main knockoff users. So that's why I'm bringing the Culver Berry, to make sure that the damage is mitigated as much as possible for when this gets hit by knockoff. Levitate, just normal. That's all it gets. Now, as far as moves, Stealth Rock is obviously good. Need to get up those hazards. Knockoff of my own, because knockoff is just way too good. U-turn to keep momentum, and then Healing Wish to heal up a Pokemon that I really need to stay alive for the rest of the game. This this EV spread was very much of a mixed brew. He does have a lot of very powerful offensive threats, so I just needed to be as much of a mixed tank as I needed it to be. So I slapped 252 EVs into both the defense and special defense, put the remaining 4 in HP. I gave it the I think that's a careful nature, whatever this nature is of upping special defense and reducing special attack. Just because like I already have this physical wall in Fortress. I have another one that I'll show later. So while I did want this to be mixed, I wanted to lean more specifically into the special side because he does have a lot of special attacking water attackers such as Greninja and Starmie. That I just needed. He was probably like my best Pokemon to tank those hits, so that's why I picked him. Next up, Lava Frog's making an appearance. We're going with a physically defensive variant again. I brought it. Did I bring it against Mark or Chris? I think I brought it against Chris. But yeah, like I said, Mimikyu needs to be handled properly, and so does Doublade. This will handle both of them properly. A big issue still, though, is Buzzwole. One of the big problems with Pokemon like Buzzwole, and when I say that, I specifically mean the Pokemon that get all 3 elemental punches. It's really hard to figure out what can counter. Like, it's really hard to say that only one Pokemon can counter it, because those elemental punches just make the coverage so difficult to deal with. Like even just Thunder Punch and Ice Punch together, only one legitimate Pokemon typing actually resists both, which is Electric Steel, which only belongs to the Magnemite line. So I brought Heatran as another alternate wall to wall Buzzwole and Mimikyu. Obviously, Buzzwole will probably have a fighting type attack, which Fortress will just have to be the one to switch into. Like you would think Mesprit would be, but then Mesprit's vulnerable to Buzzwole's bug type attacks. It ultimately comes down to me figuring out what coverage this thing has. Oh, excuse me. Oh boy, excuse me again. And figuring out which one of my defensive Pokemon is the best defensive check to it. Past the EV spread, though, pretty standard stuff from Heatran, leftovers. Flash Fire, I found out this thing, while being a physically defensive wall for this game. Obviously, this wall is Vileplume hard. It does a very decent job of stopping Xatu, because Xatu does get Heat Wave. So that can activate Flash Fire, and then this resists the psychic attacks that Xatu can throw out. One thing I probably will have to watch out for on... I'm thinking it's going to be on Xatu specifically, but really any of his Pokemon could be using Hidden Power Ground. I've seen him throw it on the Greninja, although I don't really think Greninja would need Hidden Power Ground. I guess to hit Tapu Koko, but specifically for Heatran, Greninja could just use water attacks. But yeah, so I'm also bringing Lava Plume, consistent attack, like just when it's not a wall breaking set, consistency of Lava Plume is way better than the power of Fire Blast. Plus with a 30% chance to burn, it's really good. Earth Power is better coverage against Sean's team than Flash Cannon is. That's why I went with it. Will-O-Wisp, this will be huge if I can cripple any of his physical attackers. Main ones being Mimikyu, Buzzwole, Sharpedo. Doublade, I'm not all that worried about burning. I will need to watch out for Throw, because Throw can get Guts. And then I've got Roar. Sean, literally never, I don't think, other than Xatu, which can bounce and can probably learn Defog, but he never brings Defog on it. Sean never removes his hazards. So there might be a point where hazard stacking and spamming Roar is probably the best way to go about things, especially if he tries to set up. I don't know if this thing will be able to. I didn't calc it. I really hope this thing can tank a Mega Sharpedo Waterfall to get the speeds off, because if he does bring the Mega Sharpedo, he will obviously protect with the speed boost on the Mega Sharpedo. Probably try to get it in 2 stages, because another thing with the Choice Scarf Tapu Koko is that this will still outspeed a +1 Mega Sharpedo. It will not outspeed a +2 Mega Sharpedo. So I will either have to force him to protect twice, or just roar him out and then lose all those speed investments. And then finally, this one, again, a bit of a brew. We're bringing Assault Vest Donphan. I already had 2 ground weaknesses in Heatran and Tapu Koko. The last time, I did end up checking his Raikou quite well with Assault Vest Electivire. But again, with the 2 ground weaknesses I already had already, I didn't want to risk another one. So I went with Assault Vest Donphan just to try it out. This is specifically for Raikou, but can also do work against Xatu. So sturdy, obviously, so it can't get knocked out in one hit. Just in case, I don't think maybe like something like Life Orb Greninja can knock it out in one hit. But its defense is naturally high enough that it can tank most unboosted hits. Earthquake, even with only 4 attack investment, Earthquake can still deal close to 90% to Raikou, so that's an obvious no-brainer. So I did bring Rapid Spin on this, even though Assault Vest Pokemon normally want to be running like actual attacks. I still think it is important for me to have a Rapid Spin option in case Sean does get the Stealth Rock up, or Greninja sets up spikes. Knockoff, again, because Knockoff is just way too good to ignore. And he doesn't have like a Defiant user like I have. Or not Defiant, Justified user like Virizion. And then Donphan gets Play Rough, which is, like I said before, with the option for Dazzling Gleam on Tapu Koko. Play Rough actually has decent coverage against Sean. Can hit Buzzwole super effectively, which otherwise it can't. Hits Sharpedo, and it hits Throw. I think this will be... It's an interesting brew. It definitely stonewalls Raikou. I can't really say stonewall, but it does defensively check Raikou rather well. Even a Hidden Power Ice should only do about 30%. That's with a Life Orb, though. And last time we did bring Specs, but I'm thinking Donphan will be able to handle Specs, because I think it only increases it, realistically, by like 10%. But yeah, this is my team. I'm really nervous for this match. I really want to win, both so I have less pressure going into finals, assuming I make it there, and because, I mean, I'm on an 11-game win streak. Realistically, I do want to keep it alive. So this is the team I'm going to try and do it with. Honestly, I'm running on fumes right now, like mentally. I worked the midnight shift this week, so it is currently Thursday. So Thursday at 4 o'clock, I woke up to be up for the day, and I went to work at midnight that night. So that meant Friday morning at 8 a.m. I was actually done for the week. And because I am the way I am, I don't sleep on Fridays because A, that would be a waste of a perfectly long day if I was to sleep till 4, and B, I just need to mess up with my sleep schedule enough so I can actually force myself to go to sleep at a normal time that a normal person would. Unhealthy, yes. Effective at what I want it to do, also yes. But yeah, so this is what I'm hoping, because the battle will be happening later today. So I'm hoping that I can stay wide awake long enough for this battle, for myself to be effective in this battle. So here it is. If anything changes on this team between the filming of this video and the start of the battle, I will let you know at the start of the battle video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.